Yeah, welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show. Today I'm joined by Jay Meacham, a coach, strategist, and purpose-driven leaders, helping home builders and skilled trade professionals move from burnout to bold, time-rich, and meaningful life. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show, Jay.
It is my distinct pleasure to be with you
Yeah,
and
thank
your
you.
listeners.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. So, Jay, what was it like growing up?
What was it like growing up? So, I grew up on a farm in the central part of the United States in the Midwest, the state of Iowa, which is known for farming. So, think row crops such as corn and soybeans and livestock, primarily cattle. So, yeah, I grew up on a farm, the youngest of four, two older brothers and older sister. And I learned the value of hard work because it was hard work, truly living off the land in its most pure meaning.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So, Jay, what first pulled you towards coaching builders and skilled trade leaders specifically?
Yeah. So go back to growing up on a farm. At age 13, the house that was our family home and we had called home for 30 some years burned completely to the ground. And we lost everything except the clothes on our backs. And we had our farm equipment and livestock and buildings and all that. However, the place we had called home burned to the ground. And that has stuck with me to this day. I worked in the corporate business world for 30 some years, primarily because there wasn't a future in farming. So I went to university and got a degree in accounting and then an executive master's in business administration. So corporate world, because there really wasn't a future in agriculture on the farm. And after that, for a while, I decided that I wasn't feeling enriched and rewarded and that I wanted to be my own boss and own my own business. And I decided that I had a bunch of lived experiences, you've heard some of them already, that other people could benefit from, and it would be of service to them if I offer that up to them. And so I went into the business coaching space, leadership and life coaching space. I have carved out a niche specifically here in the Midwest and in the city of Kansas City, a niche market within the residential construction industry. Because I have a very strong calling and passion to families, specifically who don't have a roof over their head. And it all goes back to my family losing our house. And we were homeless. We didn't have a roof of our own over our head for about 8 months. And it was being crammed in a 2-bedroom farmhouse with my oldest brother and his wife and their son for a few weeks. And then there was a retired couple that basically offered up their house to us for the winter months because they would go to climates in the southern part of the United States for the winter. And we had to be out of their house when they returned in the spring, which would be April here. And in the interim, my parents bought an abandoned farmhouse that was a quarter of a mile away, and it sat vacant for 25 years. And they gutted it completely with a lot of help from a lot of family and a lot of friends and a lot of neighbors. And we moved into it really before it was inhabitable.
Yeah.
There wasn't plumbing, there was electricity, and there was water. However, we had to be out of the house that we were in. And so that then became our new family home. And it still exists today. It's on the family farm. My nephew and his family live in it. That's the reason why I have chosen up to take the cause of working with skilled trades and home builders here locally, because the local Home Builders Association is partnered with a couple of not-for-profits. I don't know if you're familiar with here in the United States. There is an organization called Habitat for Humanity that specializes in providing first-time home buyers with a starter home at no cost. And they also partner with a local veterans organization called the Veterans Community Project, which provides a roof over homeless veterans' heads. It's a chronic problem here in the United States. We have these people that sacrifice their lives at a young age to go serve our country, and they come back scarred emotionally, physically, mentally, and getting back into the mainstream and finding a job oftentimes is a struggle for them. So those two reasons attracted me to the home construction industry. So that's why I've picked up my cause.
Wow, amazing, amazing. The story is really fascinating, starting from being that you actually experienced those things firsthand and now being a more like a solution to it. Yeah, it's really amazing. Why do so many builders feel successful on paper but exhausted in real life?
Oh, okay. My experience is that it's lots of things. Some of them are unique to the individual. Some of them are unique to the construction industry, residential construction industry. I'll just pull off a couple of experiences that I've run across. And it's not just home builders or residential builders. This is common amongst individuals who start their own business. And it is this: they're very good, they're excellent at doing something in the skilled trades, like electrical work, or plumbing, or trim carpentry work, or electrical work, or installing HVA systems. And so that may be their first kind of job or real work experience in skilled trades or the construction industry. And they get really good at it. And then they're like, I think I can do this better. In essence, I can build a better mousetrap, basically. So they decide they want to start their own business, whether that be in one of those skilled trades or building homes, because they think they can do it better. And for a while they can, and then it becomes something that's unsustainable because they can't be in the business, working in the business while at the same time leading it.
Yeah.
And so there's some friction that starts to come up, and they get stressed and they get overwhelmed. And it's not their fault. They just didn't really have a good grasp on a couple of things. And one of those is their why. Why did they go into business to begin with? What was their intention when they set out to do that? And oftentimes it's just because they could or wanted to. And it needs to be something more than that. The other thing is they don't have the business knowledge or experience or acumen, because running your own business, even if it's a small business, it requires a certain level of business sense. And it's not bad that they don't have that. It's just they don't know it. And so those are the two things. Why did you start doing what you're doing? And can you pivot away from working in your business to being the business owner and the leader of your business?
Yeah, thank you so much. Why do you do what you do? And can you pivot from doing the business, running after more like the day-to-day activities compared to managing the business? And I think it's a whole lot being that a whole lot of blue collar entrepreneurs, they know their skills too well that they could actually do it so well. When it comes to running it, it's another dynamic being that the mindset that I've been there presently when they get started was just having a job done part time other than managing some skilled persons around it, which is quite very demanding, being that they have this notion that yes, I think I can do it better compared to anybody. So running a business is very different ball game entirely. So what is the difference between building a business and building a legacy?
It gets back in my mind to intent. So get back to your why. What was your intention in creating a business? Is it to leave a legacy to someone else? Do you have a family member or an heir that you're going to pass this on to? Is that your intent eventually with your business? Or is it a side hustle for you? I don't know if that's a common thing in the United States. People talk about a side hustle, so they start doing this part-time thing on the side. Or is it just that? So it's getting very clear and very accurate around your intention from the get-go. Why did you start this? What's your intent as it gets bigger, as you hire your first employee, as you start to get more customers or clients, as you start to add more products or service offerings? What is the intent behind each one of those actions? And then eventually it's, what's your intent with this in the end? What's your long game with this? I work with business owners who often they reach this kind of plateau where everything they've done up to that point has worked for them. And so they're kind of hitting their head against this invisible ceiling where they continue leaning into what they've done and that's been successful for them up to this point. It's not working anymore. And they get frustrated. Why can't I grow my business anymore? What is it about me? And oftentimes it is, well, what's your intent? And if you're trying to, in the United States, there's a lot of talk about scaling your business. If your intent is to scale your business and grow it 10x or 5x or whatever, pick your multiplier. How committed are you to doing the work to get it there? And oftentimes one of the biggest pieces of work, it's two things. One is finding the right people. And when I say the right people, those people that have the abilities and attributes to do the work in your place. Trust is a big thing when you're starting to scale a business, because you can't do it all yourself. It's kind of like when you first start out the business and you add a new client or customer and you've got to add somebody. You have to trust someone enough that you let go of some of what you've been doing. And so that leads me to the second thing. Hiring people, and trust is the first thing. The second thing is along the line of trust. You have to trust others will be able to do what you used to do.
Yeah.
Because it's this whole thing of, I call it letting go to grow. And that growth takes place in you as a leader and the people on your team. And it ultimately shows up in your business and on your bottom line. You have to let go of some stuff and let others grow and let yourself grow.
Yeah, amazing. Trust. I think trust is very, very integral in that you have to learn how to delegate jobs. You have to learn how to delegate a whole lot of other things. And I think it's very lovely how you just make the difference between building a business or showing up every day compared to building a legacy. What is your intent? How big do you actually want it to be? And setting the ground rules. It's really amazing being that from there you can actually put a whole lot of things in order and start trusting people to delegate your job, some of the roles you do so well before, but for the sake of building legacy and for the sake of building, because I think it's really key, being that let's say you're running a business just as a sole proprietorship, as you alone, and you handle all the job. It's a different ballgame entirely when clients reach out to you and discover that there's not a management team behind the business. They can't just reach out to the sole proprietor in this particular case, which in a way, if more like the entrepreneur is not ready for it, it can be a bit different structure entirely compared to when they actually get started.
I hear business owners talk about fear and being scared.
Yeah.
Very real emotions. I get it. I acknowledge that and I recognize it. And they have to, it's easy enough to say suck it up or lean into that. There's a lot of work that has to take place in order to let go of some of that fear and that anxiousness. It just doesn't happen overnight. And like I said before, it really gets back to their intention and how committed they are to growing their business and their people.
Yeah, amazing. So how do small, consistent change create a long-term transformation?
I would say it's in the little things. So for just by way of illustration, take your daily ritual and what you do day in and day out. And I'm going to guess, I don't know for sure, there may be some things that you just automatically do, either by just rote behavior or you just innately do them, unconsciously you do them time after time after time, day in, day out. And there may be some things that you have created a ritual around, maybe a habit that you've formed intentionally again. And I would say it is doing those little things well, day in and day out. It's not about a big, one-time fix-it thing where, magically I do this one thing and overnight, shazam, here I've got my scaled business, or I'm ready to hand it on to somebody else. And I have all the trust and comfort in the world that I've created this wonderful legacy. It doesn't happen quite like that. It really is in the day-to-day things and the intention around doing them consistently and doing them well. And it takes practice.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Jay. I think you just speak volume to all the points you make earlier on that. Yeah, building a legacy, it's a whole lot and it has to be consistent. Starting from day one. Let's say from day one, you have to start trusting with delegation, trusting with leadership, trusting with the whole lot of things, being that you have to give up some stuff to actually more like build the legacy so that when you're out of the business, it doesn't have to heavily depend on you. And it's really amazing. So what are the most common emotions, struggle, builders don't talk about?
Most common emotions and struggles? There are a lot of them. I mentioned earlier, fear, nervousness. I will say there isn't a business owner period. I would say just small. I wouldn't. In the construction industry, skilled trades, it's more acute because it is a smaller business, so it feels heavier owning a business and leading a business. Those two things, fear and being scared, are a part of any leader's role. I don't care what the business is or the industry or the scale or size of it. I guess one of the things is don't be paralyzed by those things. Be comfortable with naming them and talking about them. I'm going to say in the United States, and I don't know that this is a universal thing, In the United States, there's a distinct difference in the way women carry emotion and stress and fear and anxiety, how they handle it, how they process it, is distinctly different than the way men handle it and process it. And I want to say that's a universal thing. I don't know. I just know in the United States it's different. And I don't want to say all women handle it the same way and all men handle it the same way. They don't. Typically, women, they're much more nurturing, and they tend to kind of gather their friends around them, and they'll talk about, they'll verbalize those things to each other. You know, from a man standing outside of that, I'm guilty of this. I just call it a gossip session. So, and it's all good. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just different. For men, we typically hold that stuff inside of us because we're men. We're supposed to be tough and the warrior, and we carry all this no matter what else, and we don't share that with others. We might share it with our spouse, maybe not. If we have a really close friend or comrade or colleague, we might unpack some of that with them. For the most part, however, my experience is that men tend to keep that bottled up inside. Like I said, neither one of them is better than the other. They're just different. And so I think that experience and seeing people go through that lends a lot to what your question was, is that knowing the difference in how you handle fear and change, naming it, an exercise I have folks do oftentimes, and this isn't unique to small businesses or skilled trades or residential construction, is I have them, first of all, I have them name, I'm no longer good with, or I'm no longer okay with. And they fill in the end of that sentence with something, whatever it is. And for men, oftentimes I'm no longer okay with the stress, or I'm no longer okay with the pressure, or I'm no longer okay carrying this inside myself, whatever it is. And then I will have them make an agreement with themselves around whatever it is they're no longer good with or okay with. Because oftentimes it's an expectation they've placed upon themselves. And so I will then transition to them making an agreement and writing a letter to their future self. A year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I have them write a letter to themselves and what's going on for them in the future. How do they describe themselves? How are they feeling, thinking? What are they up to? How are they showing up? Because then they are actually creating their future in that letter, whether they realize it or not. So it is a way for folks to name or at least write a letter to themselves, and they talk about those fears or those concerns or those anxieties. And they also talk about how it could be possibly different. Yeah. And I have them read it to someone.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. I think this is really lovely, being that rather than bottling it down, more like just naming it and talking about it, make it easier to bear. Yeah, compared to bottling it down, because when you bottle it down, you will have a creative means of actually solving the problem. But when you're comfortable more like naming it and you talk about it, it's easier to get answers towards solving it. And also it releases the pressure from that was building up owing to the fact that you didn't get to share. And it's really amazing. Yeah. So why is coaching especially important in blue collar and trade-based industry?
It goes back to something I alluded earlier in the beginning of our conversation, Aro. It is that small business owners don't have that business knowledge or expertise. It's not their fault. They thought it would be easy to start their own business and manage and lead it, and they don't. And I think at least in the United States, and it's probably this way in other countries, small businesses really, truly are the future of our economies. I come from the corporate world, and it's not for everyone. And I know from talking to younger folks that are just getting out of high school or starting their careers out of college, they are not enamored with going and working in the business world because of all it is. And so they start their own businesses. They start their own small businesses, and they oftentimes don't know what they're getting into when they start their own business or when they start to grow it. And so I know folks that are doing that it's absolutely imperative that they have someone that they can go talk to, a trusted advisor, someone that's going to be there to help them and walk them through whatever it is they're navigating. I think in this day and age, it's almost reckless to not have someone in your hip pocket or at your side as you start to navigate the waters of small business ownership and leadership.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I think they just speak volumes, being that a whole lot of our small business that started out, but they started out without no special degree in business, no specialty, only the skill set, and they actually get to dive in and having a mentor.
It's going to sound easy on the surface, Aro. It's take time for yourself. I can't emphasize that enough. Take some time for yourself. A little self-maintenance and care goes a very long way. And I know that's counterintuitive